The grill looks like a blue, is that a blue whale or a sperm whale? I can't figure it out, but it's like that big bristly, toothy thing, and it's just gross. Bought a bunch of Hot Wheels, poured water on them, and went, yep, let's sell it.
There is a screen that apparently was legitimately taken out of a fighter jet.
Hey, my name is Andy, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 quirkiest cars that Doug DeMeuro has reviewed on his channel. Let's go. Cool, so if you don't know who Doug DeMeuro is, he is a YouTube car reviewer who has been doing this for about 4 to 5 years now, and in that time, Doug has reviewed over 400 cars. Now, Doug is used to reviewing supercars, he's also used to reviewing a lot of regular consumer cars, but not only that, Doug is also known for reviewing some of the quirkiest cars that have ever existed, starting with Suki's Honda S2000.
This is a Honda S2000.
If you are a true car human, you know about the Fast and Furious franchise, and more specifically, Suki's Honda S2000 from the movie Too Fast, Too Furious. Now, this was a time where car mods were completely off the wall and featured some of the coolest mods that we have ever seen, such as neon, trunk speakers, just ridiculous in-game car consoles, and of course, Suki's S2000. Now, it was actually, like most things in Hollywood, all fake. It was function following form. So things were just stuck on or glued in place or just haphazardly thrown into the car to make it in for the film. It's quite literally all show and no go. It is the definition of rice. But sometimes rice is nice, and this car is a clear example of that. The pink paint job has definitely held up, but the interior bath mats did not.
This is a bath mat that has been cut and repurposed.
Over time, it now just looks atrocious. It just looks shocking, and I guess that's what happens after 20 years. I think it's been 20 years, maybe. Now, number 9, we have the Chevrolet HHR SS panel van.
This is a 2009 Chevy HHR SS panel.
It's like they bought a bunch of Hot Wheels, poured water on them, and went, yep, let's sell it. And to be honest, I think that the SS panel van is actually quite cool. And to have that retro modern styling that Chevy was known for in the early 2000s, actually there was a lot of this going on at the time, including cars like the Plymouth Prowler. There's that other one that's like a convertible. I'll put it up here. I don't quite remember the name. Oh, and the PT Cruiser, although that car can burn in hell because it's just, I know it was cool at the time, but the PT Cruiser just sucks. Retro modern styling, on the other hand, does have its place when it's done well, and I think that this is done incredibly well. They did a bang up job on this car. It looks awesome. Unfortunately, with this SS panel van, it did not feature Chevy's famous LS engine. It featured a 2-liter turbocharged Ecotec.
Yes, this thing has launch control, a cargo van.
And that's a shame, because imagine a panel van with a V8.
They only made 216 HHR SS panel vans.
No wonder they didn't really sell many and it was pulled from production, because who wants to drive a 2-liter Ecotec SS? No one. Now, in at number 8, we have the Vector W8.
This is a Vector W8.
The Vector W8 was supposed to be America's Lamborghini equivalent, and even featured a twin turbocharged 6-liter V8.
You have adjustable boost from the factory.
It could truly perform with the big boys, but unfortunately they only made 22 of them. It had a really high-tech, futuristic, sci-fi type interior for the period that it came out in. So if you look at the interior, you've got this big old computer.
There is a screen that apparently was legitimately taken out of a fighter jet.
About 1,000 buttons, and I feel like if you pressed any of them, it would start playing. This is just so synthwave and so period correct. To be honest, I think that that would have been quite a cool car at the time. Now, the W8 was called the craziest supercar of all time.
3 windshield wipers. The single craziest supercar ever made.
After reviewing over 400 cars, to be crowned the craziest supercar, that clearly has some weight to it. Now, in at number 7, we have the Toyota Sera.
This is a 1991 Toyota Sera.
The Toyota Sera is famous for its butterfly doors. In fact, these butterfly doors are what inspired Gordon Murray to create the doors for the McLaren F1. Yeah, that's pretty insane. And I actually was trying to buy a Toyota Sera a couple of years ago, but these things are very hard to track down now and very hard to find them in good condition. When I was finding the cars, they were all modified and abused and beat up, which was sad because I actually think this is a really cool car. And I mean, who doesn't want to pull up at their local McDonald's and open up some butterfly doors on their shitty Toyota Sera? Now the car was based on a Toyota Starlet, used the same engine, same running gear, but had a ridiculous all glass roof and windows. And the funny thing is, the sides had glass from the roof all the way down to the door panel, but actually had functioning windows where they had cut glass within glass. So you have a window within a window. It's a really kind of weird effect. I think it's really cool. In fact, it also featured xenon headlights, which is why it's got really small headlights, had xenon lights in a car that was really cheap and from the 1990s. If you can find one of these cars, it is definitely worth tracking it down and purchasing it, because I promise you, these will soon go up in value. In at number 6, we've got the Nissan S-Cargo.
I've bought a new car, and it's this, the ugliest car ever made.
Now this is another Japanese car van combination thing that kind of looked like a snail. It had a really high rounded roof, really narrow body, and it had ridiculous things like speed alarms that would beep at you.
The government required every automaker to install a chime in every vehicle. Take a listen. As long as you're going over 60 miles an hour, that noise never turns off.
Windows that again were cut within the glass and would only kind of roll down, and they weren't very fast at all. In fact, they look like a snail and they drive like a snail. They're just one of the weirdest cars that I think we've ever seen and that you'll never see again. Only 8,000 of the cars were ever produced. I wonder why. Bizarre, that's all I can say about it. Speaking of uglier cars, in at number 5, we have the Isuzu Vehicross.
This is a 2001 Isuzu Vehicross.
This thing is truly hideous, and I don't know what they were trying to do with it. It's just covered in plastic, which I guess is great if you're off-roading, but it doesn't help its styling when it is nasty, cheap, black plastic everywhere.
The body cladding. Take a walk with me around the Vehicross. You'll notice that the body cladding goes around the entirety of the vehicle.
Oh god. It just looks like a deformed, broken RAV4. It's like they took a RAV4 and then just melted it in the microwave. It just looks shit. This is definitely uglier. In fact, what do you think? Do you think that the Isuzu Vehicross or the Nissan S-Cargo is uglier? Vote in the comments below. Now, despite being hideous in every way, the Isuzu Vehicross was actually a limited edition, limited production SUV. It was made to show off just how advanced Isuzu's off-road capability was. If you want to watch Doug's video, you can, but otherwise, let's move on. Now, in at number 4, we have the Buick Riata.
This is a 1989 Buick Riata.
Now, I actually think that the Riata is a pretty cool car. It came out in 1989, which was the same year that the Mazda Miata, the Mazda MX-5, also came out. They both featured pop-up headlights, and they both were sporty cars. I wonder which one performed in the long run. I don't know. Although in saying that, the Buick Riata had really cool features like a light bar, pop-up headlights, and touchscreen infotainment.
This car came out 32 years ago, but this is a factory-installed touchscreen, and it works.
And was designed to lure younger buyers into the Buick brand. Do you want to take a guess how much power a 3.8-liter V6 produced in 1989? Whatever you guessed, it's wrong. It produced 170 horsepower. How do you get only 170 horsepower from a 3.8-liter V6? The MX-5 had almost that from its inline 4-cylinder. To be honest, it would have been cool to see this, evolve and turn into something today, but we all know where Buick stands today. Yeah. Now, in at number 3, we have the Volga Gaz. We have the Volga Gaz 2410.
This is a 1988 Volga Gaz 2410.
There is nothing good to say about this. The grille looks like a blue... Is it a blue whale or a sperm whale? I can't figure it out, but it's like that big bristly toothy thing, and it's just gross. Mid-sized Soviet luxury sedan built between 1985 and 1992. I honestly thought that this car was built between, say, the 50s and 60s, because that's the kind of period correct styling it features.
When you think of 1988 vehicles, you probably think of this and this and this, and you probably think that this looks like something from the 1970s.
The Volga Gaz was built on a 1970s car and came out 22 years later. No wonder it was just horrific in every way.
This little switch puts up the antenna. Press it and it goes up automatically. That is the standout technology in the 24-10.
Now, the Soviets were great at building fighter planes. They did a bang-up job on that. They even built a space shuttle. But their Volga Gaz 2410...
It comes with pills. What? Why? What pills? What could these be used for in Soviet Russia?
Look, the Soviets were never great at producing cars, and we'll leave it at that. Now, in at number 2, we've got the Nissan Murano Cabriolet. This car needs absolutely no introduction.
What it is an SUV convertible. What it isn't is very good.
Firstly, an SUV such as the Nissan Murano was already a hideous car. Secondly, cutting the roof off of it and turning it into a cabriolet was probably the worst decision Nissan has ever made. They took a hideous car that not many people liked and cut the roof off it. Now people like it even less. Now the cool thing about the Nissan Murano Cabriolet is if you bought this car and you drove it, everyone was able to look at you and realize how much of an idiot you were for buying this horrible, ugly car. Now, to add insult to injury, to add salt into those wounds, the Murano Cabriolet had a base price of 50,000 USD. I feel bad for you because that's just ridiculous. There's so many cooler cars you could buy, and I'm actually gonna put a list right here of every other cooler car you could have bought for the same money. Now, in at number 1, the quirkiest car that Doug DeMeuro has reviewed on his channel is the DMC DeLorean Time Machine.
And not just any DeLorean, this DeLorean.
I think that this is the quirkiest and perhaps coolest car that he has reviewed on his channel. Now, the DMC DeLorean Time Machine is famous for its appearance in the Back to the Future trilogy, which if you haven't checked out, what are you doing? That series is just absolutely awesome. To convert a DeLorean into a time machine like this, firstly, it's incredibly expensive. Secondly, it's incredibly rare.
The first thing you notice when you look on the outside of Elliot's DeLorean is the incredible attention to detail. Every wire, every clamp, every single item is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's truly breathtaking, and it doesn't stop there.
This replica featured pipes, jets, the all-important flux capacitor, as well as the time travel clock.
The inside is truly unbelievable. Once again, every single item is placed exactly where it should be, right down to the single smallest details you could possibly imagine. Even the buttons above the driver's seat are in Doc Brown's handwriting.
And that's why it's the number 1 quirkiest car on our list. Now, an honorable mention goes to the Isetta bubble car. I think that again is absolutely outrageous, but I don't think it was quite outrageous enough to make the list, but it does get an honorable mention. Which car do you think is the quirkiest? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.